It's 4th of July weekend here on the Oregon coast. I live right on the beach, Nye Beach, and thousands of people come here, especially where I live in Nye Beach, because there's 15 restaurants that are here or more. So what the result is a lot of cars coming by with loud motors and mufflers and so forth, motorcycles, everything. I try to pause the video when it gets too bad. And then sometimes I have a helicopter going over from the Coast Guard going up and down the coast. So please bear with us. But this video is on the 100 episodes of John, the prophet John, as we mentioned in the last section. Now, a chronology of people who have seen the heaven. This is what John, the prophet John, is going to see, which we'll read about. And the people who have seen the heaven, beginning in the Old Testament, I think would be Jacob, who saw the ladder into heaven when he laid down when he was going to Mesopotamia. Next could have been Moses on Mount Sinai. If he saw things in heaven, I think he probably did because he was told to copy them. Then the prophet Micaiah, 1 Kings 22:19, he said he saw a throne and the Lord was sitting on there and he wanted to send somebody to deceive the king of Israel. The next probably would be Elisha, who saw the chariot of fire come down to pick up Elijah. Isaiah in chapter 6 sees a vision of heaven, and the most anybody saw, I think, in the Old Testament would have been Ezekiel chapter 1, and then chapter 8 and 11, and then chapter 10, verses 1 to 3. Next would be Daniel. Now, I don't think he actually was considered being in there, but he saw dreams of heaven. So it's sort of the same thing. Zechariah saw visions, the 4 horses and the horns in the heaven. Then we go into the New Testament. I can't think of anybody before Stephen. Acts 7, Stephen saw Jesus at the right of the Father of the throne in heaven. Paul in 2 Corinthians 12 mentions going up, I think, into the third heaven. Then we have the prophet John here in Revelation, who saw the heights of the glory and the depths of the horror and New Jerusalem. Next is us. Now we're being shown via John's writings the things of heaven. Trying to fit the things in Revelation to current time, to me, is a daunting task. A lot of movies, books, articles, so forth have tried to fit the book of Revelation in the current time if it was written, but they didn't have the Apostolic Bible Polyglot. Well, you're going to say, well, what's that big deal about that? The Apostolic Bible Polyglot is the Greek Old and New Testament. So when you look at the book of Revelation, you'll see the Greek scriptures, and you can go to that word by the number above the Greek word and go back to the Greek Old Testament in the Apostolic Bible Polyglot. And that's what we're going to show in these videos. But a warning as far as I would give, it would be trying to do a chronology of the book of Revelation. It'd be pretty daunting to do a chronology because heaven, when John is in heaven, there's no time in heaven. Time has 2 Greek words, chronos and kairos. Chronos is more of a 12 o'clock time, and kairos is more of like a season, the time to grow. They're different in the Greek, and so trying to do a chronology of Revelation, I wouldn't even tackle it. Now, this section, as we go into it, we'll see where the description of these 100 episodes, words in italic, and they are action words that appear what the person, what John is seeing or doing, and so forth. So to begin, we have places in the 100 episodes from earth, what John saw from earth, and then when he was in heaven, what he saw from heaven, and then lastly, the New Jerusalem, what he sees there. We'll go through these and you can get a good idea of what it's all about. And from earth, number 1, John the bondman is given a revelation. 2, John writes to the 7 assemblies. 3, John tells how he came to be on the island of Patmos. 4, John becomes in spirit and hears a sound. Still on earth. 5, John turns to see the voice. 6, John falls as dead. And 7, he's told to write. And 8, John told to write to the angel of the assembly in Ephesus. And then 9, John told to write to the angel of the assembly in Smyrna. 10, John told to write to the angel of the assembly in Pergamos. 11, John told to write to the angel of the assembly in Thyatira. 12, John told to write to the angel of the assembly in Sardis. 13, John told to write to the angel of the assembly in Philadelphia. And 14, John told to write to the angel in Laodicea. And 15, the last one from earth, John sees a door being opened into heaven. So now it says in verse 16, he hears a voice and a trumpet speaking to him when he is in heaven, I believe. In 17, John exists in spirit and beholds a throne. 18, John sees a scroll on the right of the one sitting on the throne. And 19, John sees a strong angel. 20, John weeps much. And 21, the elder speaks to John, one of the elders. 22, John sees a lamb standing as having been slain. 23, John sees and hears the sound of many angels around the throne. 24, John hears every creature on land, sea, and in heaven. And 25, John sees that the Lamb opened one of the seals. 26, John hears from out of the 4 living creatures. And 27, he sees a white horse and one upon it. 28, then John hears a second living creature and sees a fiery horse. And 29, John hears the third living creature and sees a black horse. And 20, John hears a voice. And 31, John hears the voice of the 4 living creatures and sees a pale horse. These are all in heaven that he sees this. 32, John sees a pale horse. 33, John sees underneath the altar. And 34, John sees the result of the opening of the 6th seal. 35, John sees 4 angels. 36, he sees another angel. 37, he hears the number having been sealed. 38, he sees a great multitude. And 39, one of the elders speaks to John, still in heaven. 40, John speaks to the elder. 41, the elder speaks to John. 42, John sees the 7 angels which stand before God. 43, John sees and hears a great eagle flying. 44, John sees a star falling from out of heaven unto the earth. And then 45, John hears one voice from the 4 horns. And 46, John sees horses. Now he's back to earth because it says John sees a strong angel coming down from heaven. So if it's coming down from heaven, he would be on earth, I believe. In 48, he hears a voice from heaven. Then 49, he hears the voice from heaven a second time. 50, John goes to the angel and speaks to him. 51, the angel speaks to John. And 52, John takes the small scroll and devours it. 53, the angel tells John. 54, John is given a rod to measure the temple. 55, John hears a great voice or a sound in heaven. 56, John stands on the sand of the sea and sees, so he's on the earth. 57, John sees wild beasts from the earth. 58, John sees a lamb. 59, John hears a sound from out of the heaven. And 60, John sees an angel flying in mid-heaven. That would be where the birds are at. 61, John hears a voice from out of the heaven. And 62, John sees a white cloud with the Son of Man. And 63, he sees a great wonderful sign in the heaven. Now, he's back in the heaven here in 64. And then it says he sees a glass sea in the heaven. John saw the tent open that was in heaven, 65. 66, he hears a voice from out of the temple in the heaven. 67, he hears an angel of the waters saying. 68, he hears from out of the altar in heaven. 69, he sees from out of the mouth of the dragon what comes from out of the mouth of the dragon. 70, an angel speaks to John in heaven, and then we go back to earth. The angel carries John away into the wilderness, and that was on the earth, I believe. In 72, John sees a woman sitting upon a scarlet beast. 73, he sees the woman intoxicated, and he marvels. 74, the angel questions John. And 75, an angel speaks to John. 76, John sees another angel descending from out of the heaven. In verse 77, John hears another voice from out of heaven. And 78, he hears a vast multitude saying, Alleluia. 79, he hears a vast multitude as abundant waters. In 80, John's told to write. 81, John falls to do obeisance. In 82, he sees heaven being opened, so he's on earth. In 83, John sees an angel standing in the sun. 84, John sees the wild beast. In 85, John sees an angel from heaven with a key. 86, John sees thrones. 87, John sees a great white throne. 88, John sees the dead ones. 89, John sees a new heaven and earth. 90, John sees the holy New Jerusalem coming down. And John 91, so he's on earth and he's seeing this New Jerusalem. In 91, John hears a great voice from the heaven. 92, John told to write. 93, the Alpha and the Omega speaks to John. In 94, one of the seven angels speaks to John. 95, John is carried away in spirit. And where? In the New Jerusalem. 96, John is shown the river of water of life in New Jerusalem. 97, an angel speaks to John. 98, John testifies to what he hears and sees. In 99, the angel tells John not to do obeisance to him, that is, to the angel. In 100, John instructed not to set a seal to the prophecy. So there was all of the 100. You could stop anywhere and look all the sub notes and things on each one of these 100 episodes, or you can download the book and have it there, or purchase the 3-ring binder, which is the same thing that the download has. Our next video will be on the indexes found in our entities of the book of Revelation.